Yes, we are recording.
Thank you. All right. This is Bernd Gütschow. I'm the chair of the Board of Adjustment, and I'm calling the meeting to order. That is the meeting. It's a scheduling meeting, and today is Wednesday, November the 8th, 2023, and it is shortly after 10 a.m. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Chair Gusteau,
Here.
Miss Pease,
Here.
Mr. Probst,
Here.
you have a quorum.
Thank you. I should also mention that Courtney Kitchens is present, and we are perhaps waiting for Dean Gates, who may or may not join us a little bit later. Okay. The first item on the agenda is we need to approve the minutes of the previous meeting. Now, I hope you all have received a copy of that. When I received it, I looked at it and I said, oh my, this is February 14, 2022. And when I looked at the participants, it occurred to me that with the exception of Nancy Pease and myself, nobody is there anymore. And that is Bob Stewart, who was a great member, Tomas Dieck, of course, Jennifer Venneklassen, and our esteemed lawyer, Dennis Wheeler. Oh, and Barbara Jones. Nobody is there anymore. Anyway, have we had a chance to review those minutes, all of us? And I'm talking to Nancy and to Carl right now. Carl, have you had a chance to review those minutes?
Yes, and I'll move to approve.
Okay. Nancy?
True confession, I have not, because I didn't see them in the attachments. So if you can approve without me, that's great. If you need me to take a look at them while we're meeting, I will start searching for them.
Could you do that? Because I would like us to formally, we cannot approve it without your presence. So would you take, Madam Clerk, can we simply postpone this item and put it at the end of the agenda?
Yes, and I will get those
Okay.
sent right now to Nancy.
And Nancy, in the meantime, if you get a chance, would you please take a quick look for it? It came to me, help me out, Jasmine, you just sent it again. Did you send it just to me or to all of us?
Through the chair, just to you, but I will get it sent to Nancy right now.
Okay, very good.
Thank you.
If you would do that, please. By the way, I don't see myself here. Not that I really want to see myself, but I see Nancy and I see Jasmine, and that's about, and Brandy, and that's it. What happened to the others? Where's Courtney? Courtney?
Can anybody
Jasmine?
else see me? I can see everybody.
Oh, good. There you are. All right, very good. So let us simply proceed. We will postpone the minutes of the previous meeting to enable Nancy to take a quick look at that. The new business is really what brings us here today, and that is that there is an appeal pending. It's called BOA Appeal Number 2023-01, Replatting Board Case Number S12713, Mill Subdivision Tracts A, B, and C. Now, right off the bat, I have to say that there is another member of the Board of Adjustment, Sam Coffey, is that his name? Sam, help me out. Last name.
Last name. I think LAFFE.
Okay. Anyway, he is conflicted, so that's why he is not participating here today. And he will, of course, for that reason, also not participate in the consideration of that case. So basically, the three of us, that is Nancy Pease, Carl Probst, and I, will be the ones who will be considering this case. And so now I have received, last night, I picked up my packet and I was pleasantly surprised that it is not very thick. It could be worse. We have had worse, let's say in those terms. The question really is twofold. Before we settle on the date, Courtney needs to prepare a bench memo. That's the first thing. And we need to review and prepare ourselves for the consideration of the case. So the question really is, how long is that going to take? In looking at the calendar, we are today at November the 8th. And the first question is, I would obviously like to get this attended to as quickly as possible, but the question is whether this can be done before the middle of December, because after the middle of December, holidays are coming up and we're going to have a problem.
Bernd,
Nancy, you had a question.
Yeah, I am going to interrupt with I'm going to throw two wrenches into into the works here. One, the email that I received was an invitation for the meeting and the minutes are not attached. The other is I have a conflict of interest here also and must ask to be recused. And I thought I had to do this in a formal setting. And given that I just looked at the case yesterday, I didn't have time to tell you that individually. So.
Well, that throws a real monkey into a monkey wrench into the things, because that leaves just Carl and myself, and that is not a quorum. And so we are in trouble. Dean, is there anybody in the pipeline for appointment? It's a question for you.
Not that I'm aware of, but I have gotten the mayor's office, I guess, who's responsible for the recruitment and sending appointments to the assembly, is working on it. I've been corresponding with him the past 2 weeks, reminding him, but he doesn't have a name that I've heard of yet in the pipeline. And I agree that's a big monkey wrench. I'm not exactly sure how to address it at the moment.
How long do you think it will take before that issue is resolved? Give us a wild guess.
Well, you know, if they pulled up a name tomorrow, for example, we still have, it takes an assembly meeting, so it's got to go on an assembly agenda. And then, because this is one of the Title 21 adjudicatory boards, they have a 10-day comment period, public comment period. So, you know, sorry, I'm pulling up the assembly calendar now. If they put somebody on the next assembly agenda, and, you know, I can pressure them to do that, I guess. I don't know if that's effective, but maybe about 21, for example, we could get an appointment in place December 5th. But, you know, that's requiring a lot of stars to align to happen.
Yeah. We are basically looking at the earliest being middle of December, even if we push hard. Isn't that right?
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
the assembly could have a special meeting for something, but I don't know if they would do that for a single appointment to a board.
Bert, this is Carl. I have a question.
Yes, Carl.
Yes, Carl. Could you just go over the numbers? How many members are on the commission, and what constitutes a quorum? And is that a percentage of the total on the commission or a percentage of those in attendance?
No, first of all, 3 persons are required for a quorum. 3 persons, and that means 3 members of the Board of Adjustment. Okay. At present, the Board of Adjustment has 4 members. We know already that Sam has recused himself, and now Nancy has recused herself, so that just leaves 2. So the board is unable to act at the present time, and we will need to have a 3rd member appointed before we can do anything. That is unfortunately the hard truth.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so it is not just a percentage of people in attendance, it's a percentage. It is an absolute number. Now, the full complement of the board is 5 members. We have operated without 5 members on it for a long, long time. We just haven't been able to get people who are acceptable and could be approved. That has been the difficulty. So until a new member is appointed, a third member is appointed, and hopefully 2 more are appointed, there's nothing we can do. Because the people who are conflicted cannot sit, obviously. So so in order for us to act, it requires 3 board members who are not conflicted. Okay, Carl, does that explain it sufficiently?
Perfectly. Makes sense.
Yes, Dean. Yes.
Yes, and I mean, I think I didn't hear it exactly, but I would just like to know a little more about the conflicts. And I understand clearly for Sam Alfie, he worked on the underlying matter when he was on the planning board. So that's clear. But I
Okay.
didn't hear what Nancy's conflict was.
All right, Nancy, would you explain the nature of your conflict, please?
Yes, I am an active member of Rabbit Creek Community Council, and Rabbit Creek Community Council reviewed and submitted comments on this case when it was heard to the municipality and for the plating board hearing. And I was actively involved in producing those comments. I believe I also submitted comments as an individual.
Okay. I can tell you that Sam was conflicted or is conflicted because he was a member of the plating and zoning of the plating board, I'm sorry, that decided this case from which the appeal has been taken. So it's clear that he has a conflict as well. So, Carl, does that, oh, Dean, it was you who was asking about the nature of the conflict. So it appears to me we don't need to even argue about it. There are clear conflicts here, and there's just nothing we can do.
Yeah, being able to be.
And that means that, Nancy, you haven't had it. I don't think we can do anything today.
I did review
because Nancy.
I did review the minutes of the February 14th meeting.
Oh,
I'm ready
great.
to vote for approval.
Oh, good. All right. So let's finish the discussion first regarding the board and the pending case. Clearly, the parties need to be advised of the problem. Dean, I think you are the appropriate person to do that. Would you notify, or should it be the clerk? I'm not sure. Help me out. What do you suggest is a better approach here? What I'm getting at is the parties need to be advised that the Board of Adjustment can't act because of a lack of quorum. Yes, Dean.
Well, I have been communicating to the parties during their briefing phase of this, so I mean, I think either me or the clerk could do so, but perhaps
would you do it, please?
Also,
would you do it?
No, I don't mind at all. I think that Ms. Kitchen had her hand up.
Yes, Ms. Kitchen.
Yeah, and this is speaks to my I haven't reviewed the rules recently with the board and its decisions, but what is the time frame required of the board to make decisions, or is it exempted from those time frames due to a lack of quorum? Do you know, Dean? I just want to make sure legally that the board is acting appropriately.
Dean, do you have an answer to that? I do not believe that there's a time limit set.
Actually, off the
Go
top
ahead.
of my head. I'm sorry, I don't have an answer off the top of my head, but I'm looking up right now to look at our provisions to see if there's an escape valve here. I actually don't recall a time frame. It's, the board gets it, but you start deliberating and try to make a decision within a reasonable time. But let's see.
Courtney, we have never had this problem before. in all my years on the Board of Adjustment, I can tell you. So I have never worried about any time limitation. And I must tell you,
Yeah.
I don't think Dean is going to come up with a time limitation. I think the answer is that the board is expected to make a decision within a
not seen
reasonable
anything.
period of time.
Okay, good. I just wanted to make sure that we're not running up against any other legal action that might, or legal time frame that might prohibit or require us to act within a certain time. And I would think from my point of view, this is the outsider attorney point of view, I would think the clerk should be communicating with the parties instead of Dean, but I don't know, what do you think about that, Dean? Because you are, I know that I have been hired to represent the board, but I just want to make sure that we're acting appropriately.
Okay, why don't we simply let the
I
clerk,
agree.
Dean,
Would you want
let's,
to
let's just, Dean, let's just have the clerk send a note to the parties, and that's it. That gets you out of this. I know you've got plenty to do as it is. So, Madam Clerk, would you please send a note to each of the parties, kind of a nice note, and explain to them that as much as the Board of Adjustment would like to address the appeal as quickly as possible, we are unable to do so because there is no quorum due to the recusal of 2 current board members. And that we, as a result, have to await the appointment of an additional person to the board until this appeal can be taken up. Is that okay?
Through the
Jasmine?
chair, yes, I can do that.
Thank
Jasmine,
you.
will you copy me that on that email as well? I just want to
Yes.
make sure that, and making sure that you're communicating with the parties' attorneys as well. That's
Jasmine, in fact, you should not just copy her, you should copy Dean, and you should copy Nancy, and you should copy Carl, and myself, and also Sam, please.
Yes, I can do that.
And the question then is there anybody else that we should send this to kind of goose him along on the process of appointing an additional member? Dean, can you think of somebody who would be a good addition to the mailing list?
Well, thank you. I would like Brandy Heasley, our legal assistant here to be CC'd, just so she's monitoring actions and activities.
Okay.
But no, I think the parties, their attorneys have indicated that they can be served on behalf of their clients. So the attorneys
I'm thinking of.
I think also on the planning department, we should probably CC Dave Whitfield. He's been the contact for the planning department. He has said they did not submit a brief, but I think that's fair.
Well, I have a couple of people that I would like to have copied on this as well. One of them is the chair of the assembly, because remember, the Board of Adjustment is a creation of the assembly, and so I think the assembly needs to be aware of the issue. And probably the most efficient thing is to send it to the chair of the assembly. Wouldn't you think, Dean?
Yes, I agree.
Okay, and then I would like to have it sent to somebody in the administration. And the question is, who is a logical person? Because it would seem to me the administration is the body that needs to start the appointment procedure. And so if we at least notify them that there is a problem, maybe that will cause them to act a little faster. Any suggestion, Dean?
Well, if we're identifying, or if I may, if we're identifying a person responsible for coordinating the mayor's appointments, I think Chief of Staff Mario Bird is primarily responsible for doing so. Although, most of the legwork there's to his subordinate Richard Whitney, and maybe it's appropriate to CC both of them. I don't see an issue with that.
Okay. All right. Does that make sense, Jasmine? Did you get that?
Yes.
To copy
yes,
them as well? Okay.
Yes.
Anybody else that one of you or all of you think we should copy with this note as well? Hearing none, that's it. Okay, so the only thing we can really accomplish today is that we go back to the minutes of the previous meeting, and that is the minutes of the meeting of February 14, 2022. And a motion has been made to approve those minutes, and the motion was made by Carl Probst, and I think it was seconded by Nancy, was it not?
I second it now.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Have we all had a chance to review those minutes? Is there any discussion reviewing the minutes of the meeting of February 14, 2022 that occurs to you before we take a vote on the matter?
No.
Hearing none, Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll on the vote? Regarding the vote.
Miss Pease,
Yes, to approve.
Mr. Probst,
Yes.
Chair Gusteau.
Yes. Thank
That
you.
has passed 3-0.
And the motion is passed and the minutes are adopted. All right. I'm sorry that we can't do anything else. We tried valiantly, but it just won't work. And I think we will still. Now, the next problem, of course, is, and Dean, you need to help us out with this. Both Nancy and myself, our terms expired as of October 31 of this year. So the question is, I think the answer is that we can hear this case regardless. Isn't that true? We don't have to worry about not being able to suddenly sit on this particular case. Is that right?
Yes, that's
Dean?
correct. Their code in Title IV has a automatic extension of your terms, you know, if you don't have a replacement for 120 days. And I think that calculates out to like April 12th or 15th. So
Okay.
this case, I think we can resolve by then.
Okay. Now, somebody told me that there's another case in the pipeline at present. Does that also apply to that case that's in the pipeline, or is that beyond our reach, so to speak?
But beyond our reach, I think you mean, you know, would you be able to decide it before the terms, extended terms actually expire? And that's a good question. I would be much more comfortable having new appointments to the board for that case. And just as a update on its status, I just got notice that there was an intent to appeal, notice of intent to appeal, but the appellate needs to perfect the appeal, you know, by paying for the transcript to be produced and record and so forth. So we don't know if that's going to be perfected or not,
Okay.
but it's potentially.
All right. Would you keep an eye, or would you take a look at that issue, please? Because if the answer is that Nancy and I cannot participate on that case that's now in the pipeline, the parties should be advised of that promptly, because there will be another inability for the board to consider that case unless there is an appointment. So would you take a look at that issue, please, and see at what point Nancy and I, assuming I, of course, have not applied for reappointment and I will not apply, but Nancy has or will apply for reappointment. So we need to watch out for that, and you are the logical person to do that. So if you would keep an eye on that and keep us informed, I would appreciate it.
Yes, sir, I sure will.
Okay. Is there anything else that we can discuss? Limping along, as it were. Nancy, do you have anything else?
No, yes, I do apologize for my late awareness of my conflict of interest. I was traveling the last until very recently, so I did miss some emails that came through, but if I had known the topic, it would have been obvious to everyone that I was not, that I would need to recuse. So yeah, it sounds as if maybe you knew the topic. I don't know. I just, if I'd known the topic of the case beforehand, obviously I wouldn't have, I would have told you before today.
All right. Carl, do you have anything else to bring up?
Nothing on this case, but I would just like to say that with you retiring off the board, Bernd, certainly I hope that Nancy wants to and will be reappointed because we need some continuity here going forward.
I agree. I agree. So she will let us know when she has put in her application. And then I think all of us need to do whatever we can to support that application in terms of calling or do whatever is necessary. Okay?
Yeah, and I do pledge to you that I will get it done in the next couple days so that maybe as the assembly considers another appointment with from a person who's not conflicted, they can piggyback this application of mine.
Okay, very good. Dean, do you have anything else you wish to bring up?
Yes, well, I would just wanted to bring up that we're sort of in a new procedure or process since we amended the code last year with AO 2022-70. And so I want to sort of improve on this. And this is our first case under the new amended code procedures. I did start a draft of the code section to sort of refine our changes to address some of the issues or maybe some inconsistencies in the language that we've seen as we've processed this appeal. But one thing I've just identified is I'm not certain. I think that when this case was filed and we first got the record and before the briefing that we notified the chair that this was coming, but I'm not sure if we identified, what the appeal matter was about, what case was being appealed, and to all of the board members. But maybe that's something we should do earlier. I mean, obviously, that's identified from Nancy's situation that she's just described. And so I'm just going to make a note of that once we receive from the planning department the appeal record. And before the briefing begins, or when it begins, we'll notify all the board members so we can manage our conflicts much earlier.
Okay. Would you keep us apprised of your work product in that regard and what you're thinking about in terms of amendments, further amendments? Remember last year, and Carl was not part of the process, but Nancy certainly was, and I was. We worked hard, and you, Dean, were involved in it as well, and the clerk then. We worked hard on the amendments that have finally been passed. And of course, I can understand that there is a little tweaking that needs to occur here. And so, Dean, I would appreciate if you would work on that and let us know, please. The other thing, while we are talking about that,
and
I
Mr.
look
Chair,
at.
Would you like that?
I'm sorry?
Like that on our next meeting agenda?
If you would bring that to the next meeting, is that whenever that will be, does that make sense?
Okay.
I know you have a heavy workload, but I'm trying to push things forward. Okay.
Thanks,
Courtney, do you have anything else to discuss,
Yeah,
to bring up?
Dean, could you send me a copy of that assembly order just so I have that in my files as well? I just want to make sure I have the most up-to-date procedures and process for all BOA matters. So
That brings up something. Just a second, Dean. That brings up something. I was looking at the code that I have, this hefty document, and it is woefully out of date at this point. The latest amendments that the Assembly passed to Title 21 are not on there. That pertain to us are not in there, in my version at least. And I'm sure the same thing is true with the version that Nancy has, and probably also Carl. And Sam certainly doesn't have anything at the present time. So somebody needs to push a button to get a current version of Title 21 to us. And Courtney, maybe that pertains to you as well. Okay,
That would be
So-
great. And I prefer electronic versions of everything if that is possible, but
that's
I can
too
also
big.
find that online.
That's too big a file. That's enormous.
Mhm.
I would like to have it printed. I'm one of those guys who needs it printed. So, Jasmine, maybe you need to make a note of this, that the board members would like a current version of Title 21. And Nancy, would you like it printed or do you want it emailed?
Oh, I would actually like both. Definitely the print copy that I
Okay.
could hold in my hands.
All right. Carl, how about you?
So I can have it both ways too.
All right. I only want it printed. And why don't we just say that Sam wants both versions? He's a young lawyer, so he is more into this. Some of us others. Anyway, Jasmine, that gives you an idea of who needs copies and what type of copies. Okay? Jasmine? Jasmine?
Yes.
Still there?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I am taking note.
All right. Is there anything else? I know Dean raised his hand a minute ago. Dean, is there anything else you wish to bring up before we wrap up this
well,
meeting?
No, I'm fine. I was just going to comment on the Title 21. The ordinance is in our online code now, so it's been implemented, codified. But
Okay.
I agree that it's not in the hard copy book that you probably have.
Okay. All right. If there's nothing else to come before the meeting, anything else that anybody wishes to bring up before we close? Anything at all? No? All right. Then thank you very much for attending. I'm sorry we couldn't do what we really needed to do today, which was schedule the hearing of a particular case. But in any event, thank you very much for participating, and the meeting is adjourned.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Bye,
you.
everybody. I look forward to the
Thank you,
next
everybody.
meeting. Bye-bye.
Whenever that may be.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
See you, Courtney. Bye-bye. Thanks, Dean.